Hello, dear viewer, and welcome to Oblivion Class Restoration Project. Today we will deal a lot in restoration.
Restoration is a perfectly valid school of magic, and don't let anyone tell you otherwise.
It is the time for the healer, probably one of the least played classes in Oblivion, I will guess, but I will do my best anyway. Much like with the Crusader, if I were to make a healer not based off of Oblivion character class, I would most likely drop the destruction skill, since it seems so unnecessary when you can deal damage with healing spells. However, in the end, I didn't need to cast too many fiery destruction spells, because I realized the power of Channel Energies spell, allowing me to place blazing strikes and flame cloak on my allies. So the build is mainly a supporter and mainly uses destruction to enhance other people. Here is the list of mods. Apocalypse and Odin will create the ability of enhancing the power attacks of your allies, as well as give you so many useful spells in general. Field Medic will be the cherry on top. I used the mod in the past, but never to this degree. Here, with a bucket load of alchemy perks, I always had something interesting to inject my follower with. As far as I know, only with this mod you can make a follower benefit from Fortify skill effects, including Fortified Destruction and One-Handed. For the looks, we have separate hoods and more, a little mod which, well, separates all the hooded robes in the game into hoods and robes, as well as allows you to craft all of them on a tanning rack. So I mixed a monk hood with the so-called red robes, which is mostly white. For the race, I opted for Morningstar Imperial, as the build turned out to be rather perk hungry and spread across many skills. The 2 additional perks and faster experience gain made the whole ordeal easier. A Breton would be great too, but I've had enough Bretons for a lifetime, honestly. For the stone, we have the Evenstar Apprentice. Its Magicka region bonus will let us cast Wild Healing more easily, and of course Wild Healing will be one of our main spells. We also need to cast a few spells before a fight. The entire build is about preparation, so casting all of them just to regain all your magicka in a second seemed like perfection. The attributes ratio should be along the lines of 3 points of health per 4 of magicka. It may be slightly risky on legendary, but in the end your Troll's Blood spell will give you a 210 health regeneration, so all health you will lose will come back in seconds, and obviously you are not a close quarters fighter. You want your follower to tank while you support them from behind. From the Wintersun deities, Mara is probably the best choice. Her blessing will give us some cost decrease on restoration spells, but most importantly, her devotees heal every ally in 40 feet by up to 20 health points per second, which combined with Inspire perk is almost broken, especially if your follower can also absorb health in more than one way, which of course is what I went for. In Restoration, which is a perfectly valid school of magic, pretty much everything will be of use except anti-undead perks and the Odin Vokrii patch poison perks. Mage Ward will be a major change given how many spells we will dual cast. With the resistance perks in Alteration and a ward protecting us each time we cast a spell, the need for resistance enchantments will be almost eliminated. Harm, combined with some Amplify Restoration items and Fortify Restoration potions, converts Healing Hands into quite a useful weapon. Also in crowded and chaotic fights, which is, well, most of the fights you are going to assist with, Healing Hands will deal above decent damage to enemies but heal allies, which means you don't need to worry about your friend suddenly getting in your way. In Alteration, most of the left-hand branch, including the high-end Initiate, Sorcerer's Robes and Force of Will be very useful. Force of Will, reducing the damage intake with dual casting, pairs well with Mage's Ward in Restoration. All the ranks in Magic Resistance were also taken, and 1 rank of Alter Self to increase magicka. Initiate was quite useful for Wild Healing and dual cast Flames, my other 2 chosen ways of dealing damage. Speaking of flames in destruction, I only took mastery and dual casting specifically to make flames a little bit more useful mid to late game, especially if you remember to stack the afterburn by repeatedly attacking instead of holding the attack button, and with some fortified destruction potions it will make quite a difference. I didn't want to go deep into destruction perks because I was sure with my inclinations it would completely overshadow and remove the supporter playstyle, pretty much making her a destruction mage. With illusion, I had problems similar to those with the bard build. The spells I needed the most, courage and rally, can only be improved after unlocking the perks for all the other mind-affecting spells. So I opted for the vanilla way of improving them with dual casting. Fear and calm spells were quite useful early and mid-game, although later they get overshadowed by the sheer amount of boons you can give to your friends and the amount of damage you can deal with resto spells. This level of power is only attainable with your alteration, restoration and alchemy nearly completed, so before that is done, remember about your crowd control, especially when you see your follower outnumbered. Also, since you need to cast a few spells on the followers in the middle of a dungeon, it was quite useful to have quiet casting unlocked to avoid drawing attention to you before the team is fully prepared. In alchemy, we take most of the left-hand branch up to double toil and trouble. If you choose to pair it with Cinderion's serendipity quest ability, you can really produce industrial amounts of potions. Then my beloved Stimulants perk will top our already amazing Magicka region, and slow metabolism, one rank seems enough, will decrease the need of drinking mid-combat, which in the end means we could use some perks in speech just to sell the excessive potions to anyone. So in speech I went up the left-hand branch up to Investor. Technically it's not necessary, practically it's a bit of a waste to hoard all those valuable potions without any benefit from it. And it seems very in character to make money off of selling your cures. You may even consider some immersive speechcraft action to roleplay a wandering potion trader. Another thing to consider is the Speak with Animals perk. You can do horrible things with this build if you would also have the ability to recruit an ice troll or something like that. For the gear we have a Ring of Nullification, since it's difficult to replicate without perks in enchanting, and then with some high but unperked enchanting, some self-enchanted items like Amplify Restoration Robes, Fortify Magicka Regeneration Hood and Boots, King of the Lost Gloves, that's for a ghost that will join us every time we have a fight, and if we for any reason cannot take a follower with us, we will have at least one to use our healing powers on, and Spirit of Life necklace, which will of course mean our healing spells are twice as effective on followers. But it is definitely at least as important for the build to gear up your follower, and I choose Jenassa because she likes fighting with two weapons, but obviously you could also use a follower mod to convert anyone you'd like into a two weapons fighter. On her weapons I had Threshold Throw and the best absorb health I was able to get. To optimize her damage I gave her a dagger and a mace. She will burn her stamina quite quickly, but you can restore her stamina with any healing spell or with a stamina regen potion given to her with the field medic mechanics. Not to mention that she had both Siphon Stamina and Siphon Health items, as well as some Fortify Stamina. Hey, Belly here from the editing room. You should also give her the Death Shroud enchantment, and that's actually quite important. It will destroy all the enemies around her, given their health is low enough, and it will actually make the fights much faster, especially with all her absorption and the fast rate of attacks she will have. It should make combat much faster, especially on legendary, so that's a rather important one. Yes, it's commonly found on the high level vampires. Most of the key spells were already mentioned, but it needs to be noted how much can be changed by casting both Undermine and Wither on a single enemy when your follower is already insanely buffed. Then the enemy starts to stumble with attempts and gets progressively weaker and slower. It can change the tide of many battles. Generally, remember that the full combat capacity of your party is achievable when you cast Rally on both your follower and your Ghost Protector, then use Channel Energies to place a Flame Cloak, Troll's Blood and Orc Strength on each of them. You can top that with giving them some potions, while your follower, the Ghost, will not take any potions, depending on what's needed. They may need some Frost Resist, for example, or some Fortify One-Handed. This is quite a lot of prep, so obviously you don't need to go through all of it for every single fight, but if you expect some really hard one, take the time and prepare properly. Because of the flexibility, prep heaviness and copious amounts of ingredients I accumulated, I ended up with my carry capacity filled to the brim with potions. Much like when I Beastmaster build, it meant most of my concoctions were of single effect, as it was easier to manage and remember what they do. Nevertheless, some of the most useful recipes should be mentioned. A potion increasing the damage of our distraction spells and our health can be made out of glowing mushroom, nightshade and wheat. A salt pile, yellow mountain flower and say some more wheat can create a potion of Fortify Restoration and health. A potion useful both for your follower and you, improving all 3 elemental resistances, can be made out of a hawk beak, some snowberry and bone meal. There is of course many more, but I think this is enough for this video. This is the most supportive build I have ever made. Honestly, she goes far beyond what was doable in this regard in Oblivion or vanilla Skyrim. She converts anyone into a terrifying fighter, glowing with magic effects and severely high on some multi-effect drugs.
Alright, as you can see, I just went shopping and shitty sounds. You should do the same.
A lot of preparation and planning will go into the build, but in her final form there is nothing that can stop her and her team. I'm rather happy with how this turned out. If not for the Oblivion project, I don't think I would ever try such a build, and it was a breath of fresh air. A nice change from my usual decapitation and explosion-packed experience. Let me know what you think, like and subscribe if you want more. The next one is the Knight, and I have some special relationship with this particular playstyle. Hope you will join me then and there, and remember that in a few days, actually tomorrow most likely, there is the build of the collaboration of me and PCOutcast, the Dwemer Warrior build, which will be rather exciting. See you. Bye bye.